So there's this video that recently kind of went viral on Twitter talking about difficulty in video games. And I figured, why not throw my 2 cents in there because nobody asked for it. So this is the video at hand. It says that all video games need an easy mode. So first and foremost, before we watch this part, it's very important that this person receives absolutely zero backlash, zero hate for this. This is simply just their opinion. And if they want to play games on easy mode and are advocating for more easy mode options in games, that does not mean that you have a valid reason to go ahead and attack them. Again, there are parts of arguments that I agree with and parts that I disagree with, and we're gonna talk about that shit right now. So let's go ahead and watch this video here.
All video games need easy modes. I'm gonna explain. But first, if you're one of those, you're not a real gamer if you play games on easy mode people, you can scoot right along there, buster.
That first point I do agree with, okay? While I do have my reservations about difficulty in video games and adding easy modes and stuff, that is very valid. If you're one of those people that say, oh, if you play games on easy mode, you're not a real gamer, shut up, bro. You scaring the hoes, bro. You're a bitch. Next.
Cause listen, I love video games. I'm also very bad at video games. But I am a big kid with a big kid job and responsibilities like car payments, and I don't have time to be good at video games. Side note, we are not hating on people that make video games a priority. If being good at video games is one of your priorities, what an excellent way to spend your downtime. I am flabbergasted by your skills. It's just not one of my priorities. I have many skills in this life, but beating Hollow Knight mini bosses is not one of them.
This is definitely like one of those instances where I think you chose a bad example for a video game, because Hollow Knight is one of those kinds of games, kind of like Dark Souls, where that game can't really function in the way that it's supposed to if you add on like an easy mode or something like that. So I think a lot of people saw, they mentioned Hollow Knight, which is primarily like a gaming, like the gameplay is the focus of that game. So they lashed on that and then like started attacking over that shit. Hollow Knight is definitely just one of those games that I'll just wholeheartedly disagree with, that does not need an easy mode and probably shouldn't even have one. And he goes on further here, I'll play it in a second, and explains why.
I don't want a challenge. Life is hard enough. I want a cool interactive story. And what happens is
games like Hollow Knight do have interesting like plots and stories, kind of like Hades, right? But the gameplay is the star of the show. And I guess a game like Hades works a little bit differently, because the more you play that game, the easier it will get, because you will eventually get really powerful and you'll learn boss patterns and stuff, and eventually it'll get easier the more you play it, right? But like these games aren't like story-based games, you know what I mean? Like these aren't narrative-driven titles. Not to say they don't have a narrative or they don't have story, but that's sort of in addition to the gameplay. The biggest reason why games like Hollow Knight are so heavily revered is because of how fine-tuned the gameplay is. And it's very difficult to have gameplay very, very eloquently fine-tuned and polished if you have to adapt it for multiple difficulties. And I'll talk about that more in a second.
get frustrated on a fight I can't beat, and I end up giving up, and I lose out on so much cool story. Video game creators, this is my plea to you. / on with the story. Easy modes, please. Thank you.
So that was the video, okay? Here's what I think about the whole easy mode debacle bullshit. I think that games that are being made in this day and age are largely held back because of like trying to appeal to like casual gamers. Now, when I say that, I'm not trying to come across as one of those like, oh, you're not a real gamer, you're not one of us type. Like, I don't really give a shit, right? But the massive appeal of video games has created a sort of an environment where creativity falls to the wayside. When you take games that execute so perfectly at difficulty, or that execute so perfectly in terms of their gameplay, usually It's because they're not trying to worry about being bogged down by different difficulty settings. Like, how many times do you play a game and you play that shit on normal mode and it's just too easy? One of the main examples is gonna be like Spider-Man for PS4, right? I played that game on like, I think that game has like a bunch of different difficulty modes. It's like normal, hard, and then like fucking spider hard or whatever the fuck. And even on like spider hard mode, the shit is just easy. And I understand that video games are very widespread. They're massive. Tons of different people are playing video games now. I think that it is perfectly acceptable to have an easy mode or like a journalist mode in a lot of these games. But the issue with it is that games as a whole are being designed around like the individuals that are, let's just say, video gamely challenged. And there's nothing wrong with that. The perfect example, Persona 4 Golden. The first time I played Persona 4 Golden, I played it on the journalist mode. I played that shit on easy mode because I was like, bro, I'm trying to play this RPG. I'm not really trying to try like that. I'm just trying to fuck Risei Kujikawa, keep it a stack. I don't care about none of that shit, right? So I'm playing that game on brain dead mode or whatever the fuck. And you know, I'm having a great time doing the story mode and all that stuff. But then I realized once I get to the gameplay segments in that game, my brain like turns off because there is no challenge. I think there is something inherently rewarding about video games being challenging, right? I am with the people that be like, oh, you know, I hate like hard difficulties and all that shit. I don't want to like, I'm not here for like a hard time. I agree with y'all. People that be playing games on like the hardest difficulty, like the grounded mode on Last of Us, that sounds like fucking hell. I am never doing that shit a day in my life. But there are games that do execute difficulty very well and even have multiple difficulty settings. I'm gonna bring in Kingdom Hearts 2. The beautiful thing about Kingdom Hearts 2 is that it gives you all of the tools you need to either mash circle or X and win, or really understand the intricacies of that game, learn the boss patterns, learn how to use your spells, your magic, summons, and all that, and really get a dope experience out of it. I'm never gonna forget this song. You know why I'm never gonna forget this song? Because this is the song that played for 2 hours while Roxas's nobody ass, non-existent motherfucker was fucking me for 2 hours straight. But then I beat him. And it felt amazing. However, most games are not made like Kingdom Hearts 2. Most games are made like Spider-Man PS4, right? Another very bad thing about making games easier or like dumbing the games down is that you're making it more accessible and more fun for the people that like that easy experience, but you're not offering anything for the more like hardcore gamers, if you will, right? Because the hard mode in a lot of these video games is not necessarily like a rewarding difficulty. It's just fucking annoying. Like when you're playing grounded mode in like Uncharted or Last of Us or whatever the fuck, I don't know how that's fun. Like you're literally dying in one hit. It's complete bullshit. Enemies become giant soap sponges of damage. That's not rewarding or engaging. You're not finding new and intricate ways to tackle the game or using elements that the game has taught you in different and creative ways to get past very difficult parts like you are in Kingdom Hearts 2. You're just crawling inch by inch by inch, trying not to do one minute mistake, because one minute mistake means you have to do shit all over again, and it's fucking annoying. Modern games' idea of difficulty is lowering your damage, increasing the damage you take, and have fun. That's not difficulty, it's annoyance. Who the fuck wants to play that? Another game that does difficulty very well, Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry is a game you hop in there, you beat that shit in like 8 hours. This game was fun as fuck. But wait, there's like 1,700 more difficulties after that. You could go back in that bitch, and with other difficulties, it becomes a new game. Once you learn how to string together combos, it's like so rewarding. You feel yourself fucking ascending upwards as you become one with Dante, and you use the rebellion, and you use ebony and ivory, and you're punching niggas' heads off, and you're going fucking crazy as hell. That shit is beautiful, magnifique. But that's not the norm. And I'm not blaming casuals at all. We need casuals. Guilty Gear Strive is a game that's had massive success right now, and you know, they marketed themselves to be dumbed down for newer players and stuff like that, and fighting game players all the time, oh, my pussy hurt, fuck these casuals. Without the casuals, you ain't getting your games. If they made games for the sweaty virgins out there that just like to know life these fighting games and shit, they sell 5 copies a year. Simple as that. You need the casual fan base in there to be profitable. You simply do. So I understand that. I'm shaking hands with the casuals. I'ma fuck with you, okay? The problem is with how game developers prioritize their game development. Because casuals are so huge and so massive, they cater a lot to them, which makes sense. They gotta stack their bread. I just wish that there was something on the other side for the people that do like a little bit more of a challenge. The perfect example that I'm gonna think of is Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid is the series I started playing last year for the very first time, beat MGS 1, 2, and 3. And these games are so refreshing because the game is made with the set difficulty in mind. And there even are other difficulties if you suck. You can do that if you'd like to. But when you play that game and you force yourself to like learn how that game is made, and it's so crazy because like when I'm playing that game, I'm like, oh my gosh, the technology was so limited back then, but this is how they implemented stealth into a game where technology wasn't that advanced yet. And it's amazing, it's beautiful, and you just don't make games like that anymore. And it sucks. Like, as somebody who's like very like passionate about video games, obviously, I just wish that game developers took that shit more seriously. And I think we do need games like Hollow Knight, like Dark Souls. And I'm not even a Dark Souls fan. I fucking hate those games.
It smells like bitch in here, nigga.
But these games are very important because they're some of the only games being made right now where you know when you drop in, this is the experience you're supposed to get, right? Whereas like when I'm playing a game, if I find it a little bit too easy, I'm like, damn, like should I increase the difficulty? Or like, is that not how this game is meant to be played? Or if I increase the difficulty, now all of a sudden enemies don't die and I die in one shot, and that just becomes frustrating. How many times have you felt yourself like in between difficulty levels where one difficulty is too easy and the other difficulty is just stupid as fuck and not fun at all? I feel like that shit happens to me with almost every new game release. I feel like games are coming out these days and they're great, critically acclaimed. Everybody loves these games. They're like technological advancements and they're blowing our mind. But are they hitting like that? I just feel like we're in an era where there's so many games coming out and so many games releasing, and video games are very, very profit driven right now. And it leads to a scenario where the games just ain't really that special anymore. I don't know, that's the way I feel about it. I'm kind of interested to see like how everybody else feels about easy modes, because I see like two different sides of it. I see the people saying like, oh, just stop being a bitch, man up, get good at the game. Not everybody has the time to get good at the game. Not everybody is that hardcore dedicated. But at the same time, I do realize that like the games being dumbed down in this era are leading to, I feel like, less creativity in video games. I love it when a game can challenge you and make you think outside of the box, and you actually have to engage with the game and its mechanics to progress forward. I don't know, that's how I feel about it. Easy mode definitely has a place. I just wish that game developers treated games with a little bit more respect, I guess. Yeah, that's about it.